What would I say to Brigham Young, Wilford Woodruff, and the other presidents on up to President Thomas S. Monson? I'm going to meet him soon.
Travis Wingetzel. Video number 2 for the day. On Friday, the Thursday the 13th. You do know that, right? Friday the 13th is not Friday the 13th, it's Thursday the 13th. Yeah, and it's Thursday the 13th. And sure enough, the big sign in the heavens that all Mormon prophets are trembling and fearing. And so, the little weather girls in the local news last night went over it with you and told you when to see it. I don't think I've ever checked to find out when we can see it. I haven't listened to their clips yet. When does the lunar eclipse start in Utah? Looks like it's the 14th when we will see it. They're already advertising next year's eclipses, March 3rd and August 28th. Total for Alaska and Russia. What time? Come on. What time? I don't see a time. Your time and date. I don't see the time. What time? Oh my hell. Time. Oh my hell. Come on, people. What's going on? Yeah, Friday morning. You gonna make me use my Stellarium and thus shut off the camera, which probably already is shut off from the employee. No, not yet. There we go. It begins. Axios. Good job, guys. 9:57 p.m. is when it begins. Alrighty, finally, the good old girls, Erin, Alberty, Christine, Claridge, show us a picture of the future. They've got a Urim and Thummim. I thought only the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has a Urim and Thummim, because he showed us how it works. Oh my god. Seriously? Oh, there it is. Okay. So totality is between 12:26 a.m. to 1:31 a.m. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Real simple. And it took 2 little girls with the Urim and Thummim to do it. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. All I wanted. And so, yeah, nobody knows what it means. Except me. Because when I was at the University of Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, the 51st state in the Union now, it's never going to get old. Never, eh? There was what's known as the Substitute King and the solar eclipse. And that's actually what it's called. Sarah Graf, in 2017, published an article, The Solar Eclipse and the Substitute King. I'd known about it way back at the University of Lethbridge in the early to mid 90s. And the Assyrians were very superstitious people, like Martin Harris and Donald John Trump, who's waiting for further tariffs on the 2nd of April because he's superstitious about the 1st of April, as today's the 13th. Interesting. My lucky number. So many successful relationships with women on Friday the 13th. I saw Cyrus last night. I was expecting that comedians would do a comedy, and they didn't. It was a serious family drama. It was okay. I wasn't expecting a family drama, though. You know, I see comedians and I think, oh, okay, it's going to be a comedy. It's a serious drama. As the grown-up boy is unable to leave mommy, and is very possessive. Oh well, still good. And so the substitute king is about an Assyrian king, Shamash Shum Ukin, which, in case you don't know Assyrian, is the name of the sun is established. And apparently Wikipedia is unaware that that's what the meaning is. Come on, guys. And so you can see some of the Semitic Hebrew in that as a result. But nonetheless, the story goes is that he wanted to go on a campaign to obliterate the people far east. Whether it's India or as far as China, it's unclear. I don't know if the story talks about it, but I'm not going to go searching for it. We got to get more videos done for you today. And so he consulted his astronomers, which you can say they're astrologers, because they were a superstitious people. And they checked their star charts, and the skies over Assyria looked clear. Everything was favorable for him to go to war in the far east. See where we're already going with this? And so he goes with the campaign, the military, the orchestra, playing the hymns of battle, and the slaves and the food carts, all that stuff that goes into battle back in those days. And they arrive and commence the battle. And in the midst of the battle, Jesus Christ came for his second coming. And said, "Stop it, guys. Stop it. Be good and join the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." No, a solar eclipse occurred in the midst of the battle. That's the correct interpretation, Mormons. Ezekiel 38, Bruce R. McConkie, whatever. And three and a half years, sure enough, what did you know? What do you know? Putin, you naughty boy. And And so the king panics. He's going, oh crap, what the hell, guys? You said it was going to be favorable. And there's a solar eclipse, we're all going to die. I'm going to die. Screw you. And so the priests, they're like, oh crap, what do we do? We got an idea, king. Why don't you have a substitute king for a day? And then at the end of the day, we'll sacrifice him to the sun god. And that'll appease the gods, and then you can resume the fight. Okay, fine. As long as I don't die. And so, sure enough, they pick a slave, make him king for a day, and they give him a wife, too, apparently, because the queen also is murdered. So, a slave girl and a slave boy get to be married for a day, and at the end of the day, they're slaughtered. And then the priests realized the error that was made. That they're in the Far East. That it meant that their king was going to lose the battle. And the king in his fury with his incompetent priests had them slaughtered and then appointed new priests and then resumed the battle and easily won, slaughtering the people and conquering it for Assyria, and went back with tribute. And it's a simple tale of how the ancients understood, and this was 680 to 669 BCE. And although I'm seeing, that's the photo of when that was carved in stone, somewhere around 704 to 681 BCE. And so this is right after the Assyrians came into power. It's the Neo-Assyrians, technically, because there was an old Assyrian empire, and then that fell, and then there was an intermediary pause with other rulers, and then this new Neo-Assyrians. That's Babylonian destruction. Okay. And so it shows how they understood the signs in the heavens as days and hours of likenesses of things on the earth. Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. And that they actually did stuff to self-fulfill their self-fulfilling prophecy because of their superstitious nature. But they did understand the symbolism behind all of it. And so we go into the future after I graduate, and we get to 2007. And I'd already deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. I was already deciphering Egyptian at that time. I had finished my research in Paleo-Hebrew vocabulary, and had found out Joseph Smith is a translator, and the church was wanting me assassinated and were conspiring in multiple ways to gang up on me, to destroy my life, not give me my agency. And Faust dies. And it was under a lunar eclipse. Now, we were only told about solar eclipses. Nobody knew about lunar eclipses. Because a solar eclipse involves both the sun and the moon. Thus, the king and queen were both murdered. as a symbol of the fall of the government, a transition of authority. Nobody ever thought to associate this ancient understanding with lunar eclipses, though, because the people in the field with PhDs are really not as smart as they make you believe they are. And so I'm going, oh, look at that. A religious leader dies under a lunar eclipse. Interesting. I thought it was just a fun, fancy thing. It was just one test that was confirmed. I need multiple tests. 3, in fact, for the establishment of fact. And wouldn't you know it, the very next year, in January, Hinckley dies. And sure enough, a lunar eclipse. I'm going, hey, I'm seeing a pattern starting to emerge. We've got 2 now. And then the church had had enough of me and were making their moves in 2008 and committed horrible abomination atrocities, for which Deuteronomy 19:19 is in the coming day. You'd think they'd be fearing and trembling more than they are, but they're not. And so I've been going over with you the curse of Joseph Smith upon those who assassinated him. It's kind of a big tell, and Mormons do not want to acknowledge it because the church has to be true as Christian, not Jewish, as even the Bible says it's Jewish, as well as the Book of Mormon says it's Jewish, and even the Bible is Jewish. And then Joseph Smith says he's Jewish, the Book of Mormon's Jewish, and the Bible's Jewish. And Mormons say Christian? Jesus? What the hell? That's a level of illiteracy that belongs to cult groups that are brainwashing the people with Kool-Aid so that they can murder them. Wait a minute, that's what's about to happen. Because it's Purim. It's the time for Purim, where the enemy wants to murder Mormons. And Mormons don't want to listen to their cries because they're waiting for Jesus, who's going to suddenly appear in the midst of the battle and then say, he's not Jesus, kill him. Nothing says mentally retarded more than a person who only comments fake news when it's not fake news. I mean, seriously, yes, I got that today. The news story about the Philippine president getting arrested by the ICC and the connection from the church news of Cook and that president. That's not fake news, you dumbass. Now, I understand mental retardation is a symptom of being Mormon. But seriously, you think you're gonna own me on my own channel, are you? Oh, I showed him, I put fake news. There you are, my little special friend. Go drink your Kool-Aid. And so, we have 2 days we're going to do for this video here. The 13th and the 14th, because of the lunar eclipse that's going on tonight and into tomorrow. And so, we start off on my calendar that I made for you at the beginning of the month with Esther chapter 9. This is the Feast of Esther, and it's assigned 474 BCE with the war in Persia. And then don't think that this is literal history, because it's not. Your big clue is the name Esther, from the Assyrian goddess Ishtar, which they stole from the Egyptians, Isis. And so you've got Mordecai, who's Marduk, that Tower of Babel in Ur of Babylon. Dumbass. I mean, seriously, it was the Mormon in Riverton when I lived there who was in the National Guard and would eventually be the scapegoat for getting arrested and his life and family ruined as the bishop and stake president had to take care of the family while he's in prison for laundering money to the enemy out there in the war. And in case you didn't know and understand, that's exactly what he was supposed to do, and yet he got punished for it because he was betrayed by Bush. But nonetheless, and notwithstanding, he was also talking about wanting to recruit me into the National Guard. Yep, the still small voice, which you call a feeling, because you can't hear it. I don't hear the still small voice, I just have this feeling. And you've never read 3 Nephi 11, have you? You're too easy to pick on, Mormons. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. I know there are some flavors that are better than others, but, black cherry is a good one. But cut it out. You think you're all smarter and holier than thou when you make dumbass comments of hate and ignorance and death threats, but you're just a joke. And so then you resort to cyber terrorism and threats of murder, and trying to ruin other people's lives because they hurt your sensitive snowflake feelings. And so, yeah, the whole thing is a twist on the Egyptian side, but you can, because Ishtar is Isis, you can put in the Egyptian equivalents for the story, and you can retell it as an Egyptian tale as well. Or you can use the Hebrew names of these various characters and then make it a Jewish story. Everybody was doing it. And it's weird because every scholar knows Ishtar is not a legitimate story because of Ishtar and Mordecai, Marduk. But yeah, he was there, he saw it, he took photos, and he was saying, "This is the Tower of Babel." No. First of all, the Tower of Babel story, if you're gonna call it Christian literal history and put it in chronological order, was many, many thousands of years before Babylon started and built that temple, ziggurat. And so it can't be that temple. Second of all, the Bible is not literal history chronology of Christianity. It's Jewish. It's a Jewish author who wrote the book of Genesis. And so it's from the Egyptians. And so Babel is Beirut, Lebanon. God, these errors that people who are not in the field think that they're so smart because they're listening to somebody in the field who's not so smart. So anyway, yeah, Esther chapter 9. I'll let you read it. We're not going to read it. But that's where it comes from. It's assigned to this day. Because Adar is the same matching numbers with Mars. the usurper of Adar, by the Romans. Okay? And so then we have tonight, I went over with you, the lunar eclipse. And it's a total full worm moon for March. Worm moons are, the start of spring, the worms come out, and then the birds eat them. And then they regurgitate it into their little babies' mouths. So cute. It's a circle of life. And what is fascinating is that this is a direct, oops, I forgot the 13th. This was literal history. This was in 161 BCE. This was the Maccabean Battle of Edessa, when they defeated the Greek general Nicanor. So, just part of that for you. Last month, I think it was, or was it December, when we saw the Maccabean conquest and the Greek takeover of the Jerusalem temple and the abomination of desolation of not only the Greek endowment ceremony with covenant paths and death penalty oaths and loyalty and the underwear, but also the prostituting of Mormon women. I mean, Greek women. The virgin sacrifices. Alright, so back to the eclipse. And so again, we're waiting for the curse of Joseph Smith upon Nelson. The pattern has already been established as factual. More so, it's an eternal law because there's more than three. It's repetitive. Every single president of Brigham Young's criminal operation of terrorism and coup have all died in the same manner that they falsely accused Joseph and his assassination, with the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood. So yes, when I went back, Gordon B. Hinckley, sure enough, there's the solar eclipse with it as well, not just the lunar. But Thomas S. Monson was unique in that he is the death at the beginning of the latter days, as I went over with you yesterday in the 3-hour tour. And as such, he was scripturally fulfilling scripture. Prophecy. Not just under the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, like all the rest. We're now in the latter days, and it's over. Surprise, Mormons, you're no longer Latter-day Saints. Latter days are over. And so yes, that quick video for conference is among the other lists. It's unclear as to when I'll be able to have space to do it. I mean, the 14th, well, the 14th and 15th, it's literal history stuff. The Purim of Joshua for the 15th. It looks like after the 17th to the 20th, I've got some space to do some conference video prep. We'll schedule it in my calendar. The 17th is going to be a big one too. Alright. And so, sure enough. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. We just don't know when. But we know that it will be in the pattern that Nelson is going to die with the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. And we're having them. It's right now. Ever since the 13th of February. I told you to be watchful for it. Because anytime from then until a month after the solar eclipse, which, that's Passover time, is the time period for Nelson to die and fit this pattern. This is it. The latter days are over. Nelson was the latter-day false prophet of the great and abominable Church of Lucifer. Baby name meaning Russell Marion. Mars. Isn't that a coinkydink? The real Jewish Christ, Adar, with the false Christ of the great and abominable Church, Mars, battling out in this final month of the Jewish religious calendar. Just awesome. Awesome. And so, yeah, the theme song in the description below is He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask. Alice Cooper. For Friday the 13th. And we'll have to, I've already used the one picture. I think we'll use the woman Virgo with the eclipse with the Shamash Shum Enki. But yeah, anyway, moving on. And so sure enough, with this eclipse being the worm moon, I just, before I did this, as I was doing this map, or this chart for you, that's when I had found it. And it's in the law of the Jews. As well, yeah, that's Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 12, verse 7, that the church is the woman. Virgo represents the church as symbolism. And thus why Revelation 12, verse 1, is the Christ born out of the Mormon church. He is not non-Trinitarian. He is not Trinity. Constantine created Trinity. For a certain person who commented, who should have known better. And you're still pushing the deep state Dems and ignoring MAGA. Don't do that. Church is playing both sides. They're not just Democrats. Do not fall for that. You need to include both in your premises. You've got to explain MAGA. You can't cast MAGA aside and focus solely on proving the connection with Dems. Don't do that. You should know better. Shame on you. It's like Mormons. They ignore all the Jewish stuff and focus only on the interpretation of Christianity on the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith. Can't do that. You've got to explain the Jewish part. And you won't. You got to do it. And so this one we will read. Deuteronomy 28, the law of the Jews concerning the worm. Verse 39. Bum, 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 bum. And so yeah, it's 15, did I say? Yep, 15 to 68. Now pay attention, because this is going to sound an awful lot like Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon. Amazing. In Exfos, it's more than just plagiarism. It was specifically put in that way. But it shall come to pass. Shall come. Future. This is a prophecy. That's what it means. Got too many people picking on this, calling it a poor English grammar usage. That means prophecy. Latter days. If thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Remember Yah? Oh my hell. See, going over that yesterday with the clip. Oh my hell. Because multiple things were exposed in that for me. That Nelson purposely ignored the Latin Vulgate and the Septuagint and only focused on the biblical Hebrew. And yet had the audacity to claim that the biblical Hebrew meant Heavenly Father, Jesus in the name Elijah. Because of Brigham Young in the temple endowment, having Heavenly Father called Emmanuel or Elohim, and Jesus as Jehovah. The third, El is not Elohim. Yah is not Jehovah. And yet there he is, making that blunder. But then, to ignore the Vulgate and the Septuagint and focus only on the biblical Hebrew to say, my God is Jehovah, was also laughable, because both the Latin Vulgate and the Greek, which is why I put the pictures in for you, make it very clear that there is no my to be understood in the translation. That was a specific Masoretic inserted vowel that does not belong. They put that in there to be pronounced. And thus, the translation emerged from that error of the Masoret. You got to understand, the Vulgate and the Septuagint were around 400 CE when they were created in translation. The Masoretic Biblical Hebrew text wasn't until 800 to 1000 BCE. And that's a huge, vast amount of time. We're in the medieval era, if not still in the Dark Ages period of time. I think the medieval period is around 1300, but still. I mean, the Jews had lost the knowledge of the original Dead Sea Scroll Hebrew. And even though the Masoretic text is the closest match to the Dead Sea Scrolls, they seriously destroyed the original documents, which the law of Deuteronomy tells them not to do. It's just, I was watching in horror when I was first going over this, of the law specifically saying don't touch the document, and that the Qumran community of the Jews of the Dead Sea Scrolls taught in their scrolls of copying letter for letter exactly. And if some scribe who's being trained makes an error, they show you the editing process when they make such an error. They have to show the error and do all these editing things to show it's an error, to teach and train these Jews to copy exactly, to not make changes, to not alter anything. And so for the Masoretes to do the alteration and the editing and the insertions and it's horrifying to watch that. But yeah, Joseph Smith was right. The biblical Hebrew text is wrong. And not a single Mormon believes him. It was just so sad that those apologists who were working for farms were telling the leaders that Joseph Smith is wrong because the tradition says otherwise. Just a nightmare scenario. Here I am, growing up in the church. Church is true. Joseph Smith is our founder. Oh, he's a translator. What do you mean he's not? I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. What are you talking about? What do you mean he's wrong? I just told you, I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. He's right. Mormons are just pure evil. That they don't want to tell the truth. Right now, it's not twilight. It's noon. You're wrong, Travis. Fake news. The worst of humanity are a denialist. Dear God. And so, yeah, you should see this in section 1, verse 14, from what Cook said in his little audio clip that I gave you the other day, as well as verse 40 of the Joseph Smith translation, or Joseph Smith history, 1838. Your Christ, Mormons. Deuteronomy is talking about the Jewish Christ in the future. And Joseph Smith says, as does the Book of Mormon, he's going to be a Mormon. Mortal human baby, not non-Trinitarian, not Trinitarian of Constantine. Trinitarian created by Constantine. Constantine created Homoousion. Don't get suckered into other people making claims. I'm specifically talking to a specific person who sent me a comment. Okay? Because this is the warning voice to Mormons. You need to listen to him, to observe and do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shall be in the city, and cursed shall be in the field, and cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Catching on to this? What just happened? I did the video this morning. And here we are. The lunar eclipse. The worm moon. In Virgo on her crown. Where's your crown, King? Nothing. That could have also been the theme song in the description below. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Gone. What do you know? Scripture is getting fulfilled in progress right now. Cursed shall thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be utterly destroyed, precisely as it stands in our New Testament. Verse 40, Joseph Smith history. And until thou perish quickly because of the wickedness of thy doings. Consequences. It's not actually the Lord doing it. Whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with a sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron sinew. The Lord shall make rain of thy land powder and dust. I haven't done that one yet. I set up for that, but I haven't gotten to that one either. I've told you about it. We're repeating 2020. From heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Joseph Smith warned you. You didn't listen because you didn't believe. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be moved into all the kingdoms of the earth. Good thing Trump has that gold card to get you back. Thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with mental retardation, blindness from porn, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as a blind gropeth in darkness. Thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face. Yeah, because they're stubborn. They don't want to be moved. Get angry. And shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheeple shall be given unto thine enemies. Thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. That's why I had the inspiration this morning to do who the real head of the church is supposed to be chosen for the other video, the 4th video today. Let's see. And so, yeah, again, with the fruit of the land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed away. Getting closer to 39. So that thou shalt be mentally retarded for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. Mad is the English translation. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. The Lord shall bring thee, and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, Putin. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust The Mormon crickets shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine, nor gather the grapes of wrath. Good movie. For the worms shall eat them. This is to the church, the religion. He's talking about the future, for which Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon says it's you, Mormons. And here we are with the worm moon, where the economy is crashing, where people are losing their jobs. Prophecy is being fulfilled in real time from Deuteronomy chapter 28. And it keeps on going. And it's Thursday the 13th, which will be Friday the 13th, which is 14th, when we see it here in Utah at its peak. And it's Purim from the book of Esther, Ishtar, Isis, in which that which somebody falsely accuses in another and issues a punishment for the false accusation is to be punished himself with the punishment for which he falsely accused. And the false accusation against Joseph Smith was that he was Jewish. And they murdered him. And then they turned him Christian. Still called him a fallen prophet. And turned the Book of Mormon Christian to destroy the keystone and claim the keystone's still there, but it's Christian now, as it's nothing but rubble with the incorrect interpretation. And thus the stone that Mormons rejected shall become the capstone of Mormonism, to restore the temple, to stop the prostituting of Mormon women. I don't think I skipped that. Oh no. No, the fire chief and the yeah, I did. I remember. Yeah. I almost thought I forgot that. And so that's what you need to know for tonight, is that everything is getting fulfilled because the latter days are over. It is time for the fall of the great and abominable church. It is time for the transition to the rightful Christ over Mormons, so that he can get you to Zion in an exodus where you will be safe, let's see, peace, safety, and refuge, from section 45 of the Doctrine and Covenants. But you don't want to believe in them. You want them murdered instead. And thus, Deuteronomy 28, 15 to 68 is your fate for your unbelief and your murderous hearts. And so on the 14th, tomorrow, we have actual historical events, not just the Esther Purim, which should be turned brown. But it's because of the Esther Purim that we have the other Purims that occurred in 474 BCE. There's the Purim victory that occurred in Persia, and then there's also the Purim Katan, the second Purim. That's on that day as well. And so there's another second Purim for the 15th, which we'll again go over with you. I think I read the story with you. I should have it in the file. It's a children's story. It's been turned into a children's story, even though it's different. But notice it's Shoshan rather than Shemesh. Interesting, huh? Alrighty. So I think we've covered it.